Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is February the 23rd, 2024. Hopefully, this episode finds you well in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to ya. Let's see. My work day was so good. It was so good, mainly because it was just super easy. We were slow all day, no pressure, no nothing. I got to sit and watch internet stuff all day, which was fun. Play on my little game. So yeah, we had a good day. Let's see here. Food corner for last night was hamburger, bacon cheeseburger, hot dogs, and fries. So that was yummy. I will say I did a little Pepsi challenge for myself because I had one like random I'm trying to think what you call it. I guess you would say pork, but it's really like an amalgam hot dog, normal amalgam one. And then I had an all beef one. And I wanted to see if I could actually tell the difference. And I figured, yeah, it would be pretty fucking easy, right? And, I was able to, but I will say, because my palate is kind of dog shit, if I'm just being honest, and because I top things up with just so much stuff, like so many condiments, and sometimes I'll put a little lettuce on there, whatever. I don't give a shit. I go a little weird with it. And of course, last night was no exception. And I was thinking, like, man, no, this is tasting like a dog. And this other one, maybe it's beef. So yeah, I was like, okay, I could tell. But also, mind you, I had the beef hot dogs like last Sunday when I made the deep fried conies. So yeah, I don't know. There's a little bit of extra food corner there. And then also, I had a little I bought the little snack cakes, the little what are they called? Like the hostesses. They're chocolate with the little cream fill things. I love those things. So I treated myself today, just cause it's Friday tings. All right, let me go ahead and do my startup, and then we will get into some news. I think we might have lucked up because there was some music playing like right before I started, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to say sorry about that. But I think it worked out maybe. But if you do hear that, sorry. Now it sounds like they're doing maybe some construction up there. I don't know. All right. All right. Now, one thing I wanted to start. It's a bit of side news. Really aren't going to get too into it, but I don't know if you're an AT&T user, if you live in the United States or whatever, or Cricket user. I think they are a subsidiary now these days. I spit on Cricket. I hate Cricket. But anyway, they had an outage. It was a pretty big outage. I really didn't pay too much attention to it because it didn't affect me. One of my coworkers was like, "Hey, is your phone working? AT&T is down, so I'm just curious if yours is." I don't know why I gave them the twangiest accent. They don't sound like that, but whatever. And I was like, "No, my phone's fine. I'm good." Granted, I'm on some bunk shit, like a T-Mobile subsidiary, and I guess because of how how the outage went, like some Verizon services were down, some T-Mobile services were down, but like I said, it didn't affect me, so I really just kind of blew this off. But apparently, people were really worried. People were thinking this was going to be like, people were thinking this was like a cyber attack, like, oh, this was China, this was Russia, or just, I don't know. People just really went to the conspiratory well because they couldn't get on their phone for a few hours. So yeah, I felt like, oh, damn, I missed the opportunity to talk about this. Psych, I can just talk about it now. But yeah, there's an article from Axios. AT&T outage was not a cyber attack. Feel free to read that at your leisure, or what have you. Hopefully your phone's working. Hopefully you can be on your phone, and if you're listening to me on from your phone, hell yeah, let's go. Glad it's on and popping, baby. Anyway, let's get to the news I wanted to share today, the main stuff. From ABC 7 News. Financial advice columnist shares warning about phone scams after being swindled out of $50,000. A financial advice columnist is sharing her terrifying experience of falling victim to an elaborate phone hustle, which ultimately led her to putting $50,000 in a shoebox and handing it over to the scammers. Charlotte Coles of Brooklyn, New York, is sharing a warning after phone scam artists convinced her to give them tens of thousands of dollars. I thought I would never fall for something like this, she said. Cowles, a columnist for the New York magazine's The Cut, wrote a now viral article, "The Day I Put $50,000 in a Shoebox and Handed It to a Stranger." Now, I would suggest if you're interested in this story at all, check that out. There's also videos if you don't feel like reading. I completely understand. I picked this up listening to TrueAnon and then the Ben and Emil show, formerly known as Pay Pigs, formerly known as Trillionaire Mindset. Y'all know me. I'm a big scamaholic in terms of I'm interested in scams. I like a good scam. I mean, obviously I don't support them, but I do find them fascinating, of course. And the idea that, like, essentially what it is an Amazon phone scam. I'll read through it really quickly, and that's part of the reason why I didn't actually pull from the article, because, of course, she talks in a very, long, editorialized style, and I completely go off, sis. This is your story. This is your moment. Even though, granted, it's not maybe your best moment, but let's get into it a little deeper. Back in October, scammers called her, first pretending to be with Amazon, saying her account was compromised. Then she got transferred to someone claiming to be with the Federal Trade Commission, telling her she was the victim of identity fraud. That led to a fake CIA agent saying a warrant was out for her arrest, and she had to withdraw $50,000 from her bank account to protect her assets. "Don't tell anyone. Everyone is a suspect," the phony agent said to Coles. So this, she was essentially on the phone for hours. I think she even goes in to say, because this is around Halloween time, she literally winds up being on the phone, taking her kid trick-or-treating and stuff while she's being I hate to say it, but rope-a-doped by this group of people saying hey, you have to give us this money to protect yourself. And the whole time, you would think, how could you fall for something like this? This is just so obvious. Just hang up the phone. Just click, you're done. You can verify this with someone else. This is clearly an intelligent person who also adds that, I have friends who are, lawyers and that kind of shit. I could have easily hit them up, but I just didn't. I was just so scared. And I think the really, the piece of resistance here is that these guys, they did their homework. They researched the shit out of Coles and knew her down to the last 4 digits of her social, and they were able to spit out this information to her in a way that makes it very believing. And I think if you've ever been in a situation where you have had your identity stolen, or you've just done just certain things that require you to have to give out these kind of information, you know how that conversation can go down. And if these people hit the dialogue notes, then it sounds real, it feels real, and you're scared. You're so fucking scared. So yeah, I can understand the temptation to be wow, what a dummy, what an idiot. And then also imagine then you have to tell people this because, she gets to the point, we're going to riff a little bit here. She gets to the point where she's okay, I got all this money, which required her to go to the bank. And I have to also add, the bank, they didn't stop her, which is something that's kind of added. And she kind of states in her Cut article or whatever, I think. But they did leave a pamphlet saying, hey, just so you know, here's some tips to maybe say, hey, maybe you might be getting scammed. They didn't want to stop her from using her money, but at the same time, they maybe were this is a big red flag here. But I mean, at the same time, she then takes this money, secretly puts it in a shoebox, lets someone come up in a random car and take this money, and then gets off the phone, comes back on the phone later, and the CIA guy is gone, and it's a woman now, and she's oh, I'm the secretary, he's just not here right now. And it's and that's when she kind of realized, oh, I fucked up. And it's crazy. I don't know if you've ever been scammed. I've been scammed on light shit. I've had some light identity theft. I've had some people rifle through my shit before. I've been very scared. I had to freeze my shit. It's no fucking fun. But I felt a story that really that I relate to this a lot was when A debt collector wound up hitting me up for some credit stuff. I've gotten that worked out. I've gone through my goddamn paces. Whatever. But this debt collector, they hit me up. And I've had that happen before. I want to say at the time I was like later 20s, whatever. So I had enough sense. Like, I'm not stupid. I wouldn't consider myself a guppy, but at the same time, like, obviously, when you're in debt, you're worried about your fucking funds, things like that. You're already in a kind of fucking hole. So this motherfucker hits me up, and he more or less strong arms at least like $300 out of me. And I'm, mind you, in the midst of doing a bankruptcy. So, like, I should have the sense to say, hey, no, I'll call you back later, click, and then like just fuck off. You know what I mean? Which was the confidence I learned after this incident. But I remember being so flustered, so frazzled, not knowing what to do. And like, I remember at the time, I was talking with my ex, and like the way I conveyed it just made it seem so dreadful and real. I think I could tell in her face, because we had the conversation after I gave the money up. She was like, Isaiah, like, why did you give the money up? We are in a bankruptcy, right? And then like we went to later, because I had like legal representation for the bankruptcy shit. The lawyer, she like had to kind of like stifle a laugh. Like, she's like, yeah, why did you do that? and my ex, she's like, yeah, I don't know. And I wasn't even mad, because I understood. Like, you know what I mean? I was in the throes of it. I was willing to believe whatever this guy, he was talking to me like he was a goddamn like detective, and he had my number. And I bought it, and I gave up money that I didn't have to give up. And that's not a scam. That's technically on the level. You know what I mean? I'm not sitting here saying, no, I'll fuck the system on that or whatever. But back to the matter at hand, I can understand how these little tactics, these subtle kind of moves, whether you're being aggressive, whether you're being nice. Like, it said that, like, one of the guys, when she's in this kind of shuffle, is like being like, hey, have you eaten? Like you need to eat. Make sure you eat. Get something to eat, because like, right now you're so stressed, and like your money is gone, and like, and I'm cutting out on some of the drama here, but like there's also a moment where like it's revealed to Coles that like, hey, is this who you are? And like it's this random lady, it's not her, and she's like, no, that's not me. And it's like, oh, well, this person, their identity was found here, and there was like blood in this car and all this stuff. So once again, you're just ramping up this drama, and next thing you know, this person is like in like a Serpico movie or something, and they don't know what the fuck is happening. And once again, let me run you right back up to the top. This was an Amazon scam. This person didn't have any money in Amazon, but they got so tied up in this fucking just craziness, this drama, that they bought it. And they bought the scam, and they gave up the money. So this is more of a cautionary tale than anything, because I think everyone goes, oh, this couldn't happen to me. But like, technology makes this shit so easy. And like, they don't even have to get on the phone with your fucking ass. They can get you with a fucking email. They can fish your shit. You know what I mean? We've talked about that before in the pod. So, I kind of brushed it off like, oh yeah, whatever, old scam, damn, what a guppy, what a dummy. But once again, I thought about my own fucking life, and I thought about my own shit, and I was like, no, this is $50,000. That's crazy. But yeah, I mean, it is also cool that she's pretty cool about it. She's definitely, doing what she can. She's now flipped it into, a cool, interesting column. So there's that, I guess. You know what I mean? But yeah, figured that was worth the coverage. And now we can move on to some other things, some international things. At least this one story from the Associated Press. Black and white and adored all over. China pledges pair of pandas for San Diego Zoo. So yay, clap it up. We're getting the pandas. The pandas are coming back. Panda diplomacy is back on the menu. I'm very hyped for this. Let's see. China, for the first time in more than 2 decades, is sending pandas to the United States to the delight of the San Diego Zoo, which is preparing to receive a pair that could include a female descent of Bai Young and Gao Gao, 2 of the zoo's former residents that were among the most reproductively successful panda mates in captivity. The China Wildlife Conservation Association said Thursday it also signed agreements with the zoo in the Spanish capital of Madrid and is in talks with zoos in Washington, D.C., and Vienna, quelling fears that Beijing was ending its historic panda diplomacy with Western nations due to diplomatic tensions. So, I mean, yeah, that's more or less the heart of the story there. Of course, there's more details, but we had covered before that these pandas were going to be leaving, and the loan hadn't been extended, and I was like, oh man, that's such a fucking bummer. So it's cool that like we now have this turnaround, and it's like, hey, no, we're actually going to keep this open, and you guys are going to be getting more pandas. There was something, if I can find it. I probably lost the highlighted part. Here we go. Zoos typically pay a fee of $1 million a year for 2 pandas, with the money earmarked for China's conservation efforts, according to a 2022 report by America's Congressional Research Service. The pandas return to China when they reach old age, and any cubs born are sent to China around 3 or 4. So this is just something that's all wins for China, but at the same time, they have the levers of power here, and that's why it's like, oh, okay, maybe we'll just kind of reel it back and keep a little bit tension, and then, we'll ease it up after, a couple of, meetings and hangouts or whatever, and, there you go. Let's see here. The life expectancy of a giant panda in the wild is about 15 years, but in captivity, they have lived to be as old as 38. Let's see. The U.S., Spain, and Austria were among the first countries to work with China on panda conservation, and 28 pandas have been born in those countries, China's official Xinhua news agency said. Let's see here. I mean, that's more or less what we really wanted to pull here. I will say this was kind of an interesting thing. Bai Young's first cub, Hua Mei, was the first panda born through artificial insemination to survive into adulthood outside of China, and would go on to produce 12 cubs on her own after she was sent to China. Bai Young, meanwhile, remained at the zoo, where she gave birth to 2 more females and 3 males, with cameras in her den. Researchers monitored her, contributing to the understanding of maternal care behavior, Owen said. Also, too, I think they're excited to get more tips, I think, on panda mating rituals, because it's a very sensitive thing. They only have I think up to 48 to 72 hours in a year of actual they're fertile, they can mate right now, and it's something that you really got to stick the landing on. It's not super easy to get them together, it's like poke breeding or playing The Sims or something on hard mode. So yeah, I think this is just a really cool international exchange. I mean, of course, you get into the whole muck and mire of zoos, are they ethical? Blah, 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 blah. I mean, you can have a whole conversation about that and do a whole podcast episode about that. I don't really want to do that here. But that being said, interesting shit. So yeah, let's go ahead and mosey on to the next beat. From USA Today. Also, fuck Bloomberg. I initially got from them, and they paywalled me. Fuck up, paywall. Anyway. Capital One is acquiring Discover. What to know about the $35 million all-stock deal. Capital One is acquiring Discover Financial Services in an all-stock transaction valued at $35.3 billion, the company said Monday. Capital One shareholders will own 60% of the combined company, and Discover shareholders will own 40%. Also, the board is going to be giving, I think it's 2 or 3 members are going to be moving over to Capital One's board. But let me read a little bit more here. Capital One chairman and CEO Richard Fairbanks said the acquisition of Discover is a singular opportunity to bring together 2 very successful companies with complementary capabilities and franchises. Or compatibilities and franchises, and allows the newly combined company a chance to build a payment network that can compete with the largest payment networks and payments companies. which I think is like kind of the core reason why Capital One wanted this. But Discover made it very clear that it's like, look, you have to buy all of us. You cannot buy part of the company. That's something that can happen in these kind of mergers, acquisitions. Is like, oh, we really love you, baby. But really what you mean is you want this part of us and you want to cut this other part out and let us spin in the wind. And it's like, no, 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 no. At this point, you got to buy all of it. You got to buy the whole hog. So let's see here. According to the news release announcing the acquisition, Discover's payments network has 70 million merchant acceptance points in more than 200 countries and territories, which makes it the smallest of the four US-based global payments networks, trailing Visa and MasterCard and American Express. Capital One's acquisition adds scale and investment, enabling the Discover network to be more competitive with the largest payments networks and payments companies. And I think it also gives Capital One more of an opportunity to ride its own wave as opposed to having to work with Visa, MasterCard, and all that kind of shit. So it's good in that regard. They have to wait for, customary closing conditions, including regulatory approvals and approval by the shareholders of each company. But I think that's probably just a matter of fact kind of thing. There's potential talks of like, oh, is this a monopoly? And it's like, probably not, because it's already kind of monopolized anyway. There's already like very few companies in this networking space. And essentially Capital One is just glomming on to that. So it doesn't really feel like like a predatory thing to me in a capitalistic sense. I don't know though, I'm just a guy who mashes shit in a goddamn dumpster. So who knows? Let's see here. Once again, is there anything more to pull? No, we're good. We have one more thing to cover, and then I'll let you go on your merry way for Friday. But you know what that means. It's break time. So hopefully take a break with me. If not, completely understand, but bear with me. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. From space.com, we've been hitting them up a lot this week. Intuitive Machines lands on Moon in nail-biting descent on private Odysseus lander, a first for the U.S. since 1972. After a nail-biting descent and a tense silence from the lunar surface, the United States is back on the Moon. Odysseus, a robotic lander built by Houston-based company Intuitive Machines, touched down near the lunar South Pole this evening, February 22nd. So, clap it up, golf clap. I am excited about it. Like, y'all know I'm a little bit of a space nerd. I enjoy that shit. I think it's very cool. But there was something about this that I kind of realized, listening to Start Here. They kind of mentioned an offhand thing, but I'm sure I've heard this before, and maybe even mentioned it on the pod. But it's just the idea of, like, what are we going to do with space? Because what are we doing to this planet, right? And I know this is me getting like, I'm turning a cool silver lining thing into like, oh, you're being negative and a bummer. But like, I really am worried that like, we're going to milk the moon, y'all. Like, we're going to turn this into like a McDonald's or something. Because these dudes are so horny. They're so horny to be like, yeah. Because, and I think we mentioned it more with like the Indian Chandraya. I'm getting the name wrong probably. But their lunar landing, because it's once again on the South Pole, that's very important because they're looking for like water on the moon, because then it allows you to make the moon more of a depot and like harvest resources from it, and like then it becomes, like I said, like a depot way station, and you can use it for like more things. But like, so what are we telling? We're going to turn like the moon into a rest stop or something, and then once again we're gonna have like a bunch of McDonald's and all that kind of shit. Like, I'm more okay with that, like on like a satellite. Like, at least we're hanging out in space. But like, then we're talking about space junk and all that other kind of shit. But I don't know. I'm a bit in the weeds here. At the end of the day, this is very cool. It's an interesting collaborative effort between NASA and other parties making this shit all happen. So, huzzah and hurrah. It's very cool that, they landed, they stuck it. I think something I definitely missed was they had a bit of a software issue. Also, kind of going full circle back to the top, as the same as AT&T. The reason was not Russia or China or cyber attack. It was just simply a cyber. No, I keep fucking that up. It was simply a software issue. They fucked it up. Either it was like an update or just whatever. Like oops a daisy. No need to get the FBI involved. But similar there in space. Odysseus had a bit of a software issue, or at least they were able to work it out with a software update, and they were able to get it working. And needless to say, it's able to send pictures and stuff now. So hell yeah, cool. Like I said, I do think it's cool, being in space, landing on planets and shit, like it's Mass Effect. Whether it's manned or unmanned in this case. But yeah, figure we close on a good note, even though, like I said, I did get a little bit of a cosmic dystopian there. But whatever, sometimes you got to do it. But yeah, that's the episode. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/Isaiah News. Your dollars do go to a good cause, which is, me. But no, it really does, it does prove the concept for me. It adds feel good points. In an ideal fantasy scenario, I'm going to break the bank one day and, use this shit to like really update and, do more and things of that nature. But really, it's just a tip jar. I don't, I say it everywhere. I spam it, but at the same time, it really is not major to me. It just is part of the gig, right? But you do become a newsie if you help out and you support with the financial stuff. It's $5 a month. But yeah, you become a newsie. I shout you out at the top of the month. Plug a project if you'd like. And then there is a bit of bonus content, older episodes, special episodes. Haven't, really seen the light of day. Technically, I'm the only one who's listened to them. If you want to listen to them, newsies are there. If you want to dig through the YouTube archives, they're waiting for you. I think it's about like 30 episodes, whatever. But yeah, fuck that shit. Anyway, the Gmail, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. That is a free way to hit me up. By all means, hit me up the old school way. Love getting an email. Let's see, normal, Zoomer ways or millennial ways, the old socials, they work. I'm there. Podcast is there. Feel free to follow or hit me up that way. And, hopefully you subscribe to the YouTube. Really helps out a lot. Hopefully you like the episode. That's cool. I saw someone out there didn't like an episode, and hey, that happens sometimes. And you know what? Cool. That's so cool of you to not like this shit, man. I feel you, dog. Me too. But you can do that, and then you can leave a comment. You can say it with your chest. Hopefully you say you liked me with your chest. I really like that. That's the best way. But if you can, keep it all the way real and do that, that's good for the algo. And let's see here. Is there anything else to really add? No, that's it. So yeah, hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.